Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Cabinet to review draft report on school violence. $3 billion in the next 6 years to supply Jamaicans with water as effects of climate change worsens. And later in sports, Wendy's A defeats Nepal in third T20 International. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. Cabinet is expected to review the draft report of the Anti-Violence Commission soon. The commission was recently established to look at the recent flare-up of violent incidents in schools. More in this report. The government is fighting tooth and nails to address the recent flare-up of violence among students across the island. So far, 1 student has died from the conflicts and several others have been charged by the police. At Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing, Minister without portfolio with responsibility for information Robert Morgan says the situation is not lost on the government.
While the government has a role in assisting with dealing with behavioral challenges, you cannot deal with it effectively unless you take a whole country approach to the issue. And as such, the government continues to engage churches, continue to engage other entities outside of government to partner with us. I don't know if you remember, Minister of National Security in Parliament, as well as the Prime Minister, spoke at length about some of the social interventions that we're doing in communities to assist, especially vulnerable communities and young people, to reattach them to the society and give them the assistance they need. So there's an entire suite of actions that we're taking as a government.
On Tuesday, President of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, Metri Siaga, called for a comprehensive, multi-stakeholder approach to address violence within schools. In a media statement, the PSOJ said while data does not point to an increase in overall school violence, the high visibility of these incidents is a clear call to action for all parties involved in shaping the minds of future generations. Mr. Siaga said that the private sector is deeply troubled by what appears to be the normalization of violence among young people. The government says it has not lost interest in carrying out significant investments in Port Royal to boost the tourism prospects there. The once popular town decades ago has not had any significant developments in years. Speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett noted that the investments are coming.
There are no itineraries, so to speak, for cruise at the moment. So we have to make Port Royal into a desired destination with distinct arrangements with boutique ships for direct entry into Port Royal. And we're working assiduously at that. Prof. Shirley and the team and myself and Prime Minister himself very involved in enabling that development to happen. So Port Royal is going to be the biggest and most exciting destination in the Caribbean in short order.
The St. Elizabeth police are searching for 2 men who carried out an attack in Elim in the parish last night. It's reported that about 9 p.m., Grasset Griffiths was among 4 persons at a shop when armed men walked up and opened fire, sending patrons scampering for cover. Mr. Griffiths was shot in the head. The gunmen then set fire to the shop and kicked in the door of a house behind the building before leaving. One resident shared how he narrowly escaped.
In the house and somebody called me phone to ask me I walk once down there. You understand? And it's like say, the man say, somebody in the house and make a call, but I never did make a call. I did afraid and lay down. You understand? Mm-hmm.
So they come to kick off the door?
So me hear the door kick off, I just see this up. And I run out through the back. I mean, I'm going to make them just come in there and do anything with this stuff. I'm just run, so I dead running try, so I mean, response to nothing, you understand?
Since December, there have been at least 5 murders in the community. Reactions are pouring in over the death of former Deputy Mayor and Councillor for the Morant Bay Division in St. Thomas, Rohan Bryan. He died this morning at the Princess Margaret Hospital following an illness. More details in this report.
Last night I was sitting on the bench and saw Mr. Bryan in the chair coming. So I said, "Who is that? Is Mr. Bryan? Where are you going?" He said, "On the ward." I said, "Okay." I will check you later. And then he turned to me and said, yeah man, later, big up.
But later never came. Those were her last words to Councillor for the Morant Bay Division, Rohan Bryan, mere hours before he passed. Mr. Bryan, affectionately called Washi, was hospitalized on Sunday after battling a heart condition for some time. His sudden passing has sent shockwaves throughout the island. His colleagues and residents in St. Thomas have conveyed their grief at his passing.
It's a dark day for us. It's not a day that we all want to see. But as they say, we are where we are.
I know Mr. Washi. He's my friend. Him don't pass me. So I don't pass him neither. He's a nice man.
He was a very, very nice guy. Everybody talk good about him.
Mr. Bryan was elected councillor for the Morant Bay Division on the People's National Party ticket in 2012. Although his allegiance was to the PNP, the entire political fraternity is grieving.
Not just PNP is grieving, both PNP and jail.
It doesn't matter what side of the fence you are from. Washi is just Washi with the people.
His death leaves the PNP with 3 seats in the St. Thomas Municipal Corporation to the JLP's 6 seats in the 10-member corporation. Amoy Harriet, TVJ News.
At least 3 schools in St. Thomas have answered the call to partner with the Jamaica Agricultural Commodities Regulator Authority, JACRA, to use excess lands to farm. Additionally, 61 farmers have come on board. Details in this report.
Acting Director of the Jamaica Agricultural Commodities Regulatory Authority, Wayne Hunter, says the launch of the Pimento seedlings distribution project comes at a time when there's a push to amplify the production and export of spices such as ginger, turmeric, and pimento. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony yesterday in St. Thomas, Mr. Hunter shared details of the agency's plans.
And there's a number of things that we have set out to do under the new face of food. One of the things that we're keen on doing this financial year is to increase production by at least 20%. And this we expect to fill the gap that is in the hospitality, food service, and the agro-processing industries.
But that's not all.
We want to be able to provide our farmers with is market access. Because for far too long, our farmers till the soil and have not been able to sufficiently gain access to markets.
It is why he says the government is targeting close to 4,000 farmers over the next few years to drive production and increase earnings. The project falls under the new face of food. Additionally, some 61 farmers benefited from the program with up to 25 pimento seedlings. In the meantime, Mr. Hunter says JACRA will be promoting the use of climate-smart technologies to enhance productivity. Karen Simpson, TVJ News.
As the country continues to feel the effects of the second successive year of a crippling drought, stakeholders gathered in Kingston to discuss climate resilience and responses for the coming years. And coming out of the talks is the revelation that the country will have to spend $3 billion in the next 6 years to be able to supply Jamaicans with a commodity. The details in this report.
Certainly a drought with severe impacts, especially in the western part of the country. It's not going to get any easier.
A sobering warning from Minister with Responsibility for Water, Matthew Samuda, that many of the challenges caused by climate change, including droughts, will never go away. But even more sobering is the explanation that the country can't do all it really needs to do.
Developing nations such as Jamaica will never be able to contemplate, will never be able to exude the sort of arrogance that believes we can out-invest climate change, because there is a bit of arrogance with let's adapt, and we make these broad statements that somehow the adaptive capacity is indeed possible for the misdeeds of human beings. But we don't even have the option of being that arrogant or of parking the misdeeds of human beings. We are living that space, and there is no possibility of out-investing climate change.
The minister was speaking Monday at the country's first ever National Climate Forum hosted by the Meteorological Service of Jamaica. The talks coincide with the crippling dry spell in 5 parishes, including Westmoreland and Hanover, which are said to be hit the hardest. He also indicated to the stakeholders where the government will look to make investments. Carrie-Ann Simpson, TVJ News.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us, more stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Here now is Shane Burke with the Business Minute.
The Bank of Jamaica says it issued 132 new remittance licenses in 2023, while 46 other licenses were voluntarily surrendered during the same period. The total number of licenses in operation at the end of 2023, therefore, stood at 858. This is a significant increase over the 772 recorded at the end of 2022, as detailed in the BOJ's annual report. Meanwhile, there was also a marginal decline of approximately 1.2% in remittance inflows during 2023 compared to the previous year. The BOJ says this decline was in a context in which remittance flows normalized after the increases recorded in 2020 and 2021. The numbers in those 2 years were boosted by grants and stimulus packages issued by relevant government agencies in major source countries like the United States. Remittance inflows increased by 46% for 2023 when compared to flows for 2019, the year prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. Further afield, adverts shown during Amazon Prime shows and films have helped the tech giant to beat forecasts for sales and profit. Advertising revenue for the first 3 months of this year was 24% higher year-on-year, with the company making Amazon Prime adverts the default option for many customers over the period. Cloud services and its fastest ever Prime delivery times also boosted results. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Shane Burke.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
Region. Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana have signed a common master plan to bolster regional security and defense. The agreement was arrived at following a day of intensive dialogue involving the 3 countries and Brazil. A release from the Ministry of Home Affairs in Guyana says the signing marks a key step towards enhancing cooperation and addressing shared security challenges. On the international scene, at least 24 people are dead after a section of a highway collapsed early Wednesday in China's southern Guangdong province. 18 cars fell down a slope after a 58.7-foot-long section of the highway collapsed. Parts of the province has seen record rains and flooding in the past 2 weeks, as well as hail. Now, some villages in the city had flooded in early April, and the city had seen heavy rains in recent days. And violent clashes erupted early Wednesday on the campus of the University of California in Los Angeles between pro-Palestinian protesters and a group of counter-demonstrators supporting Israel. Police were deployed to the campus after the Israel supporters tried to tear down a pro-Palestinian protest encampment. Now, footage showed people wielding sticks or poles to attack wooden boards being held up as a makeshift barricade to protect pro-Palestinian protesters. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Amoy Harriet.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Giovanni Dennis will have your midday sports report.